She was just a waitress, working another long shift in a world that rarely noticed her. But that night, in a room filled with wealth and power, she saw something no one else dared to acknowledge. A billionaire, pen in hand, ready to make a decision that could ruin lives. Everyone stayed silent, except her. With nothing but courage and the truth, she spoke up. What happened next didn't just shock the room. It revealed a brutal reality about race, power, and justice that we can't afford to ignore. Her name was Maya. To most people, she was just another face in a crowded restaurant. A young black woman balancing trays, smiles, and exhaustion as she worked late nights to support her family. For years, she had learned to stay invisible, blending into the background while the wealthy and powerful dined without ever seeing her. But Maya wasn't invisible. She noticed things. The careless words tossed around like crumbs. The dismissive looks that reminded her again and again of where society believed she belonged. And though she had endured it all with quiet strength, that night would be different. The event was supposed to be routine, another gathering of influential men in tailored suits, their laughter echoing through the hall as glasses clinked. Billionaires making deals, shaking hands, deciding futures, while the staff slipped silently between tables. Maya was used to being on the margins of their world, but she was also sharp, observant, and unwilling to ignore what she saw. Because hidden in the fine print of a contract about to be signed was something dangerous, something she understood better than anyone in the room. And when the pen touched paper, she realized she had a choice: stay silent and safe, or speak and risk everything. The room glittered with power. Men in expensive suits leaned back in their leather chairs, their voices carrying the weight of decisions that would ripple far beyond those walls. For them, this was just another deal. One more signature, one more empire expanded. But for Maya, it was different. She wasn't supposed to notice the document on the table, wasn't supposed to read the lines she had glimpsed while clearing a glass. Yet the words burned into her mind, clear enough to make her stomach drop. Buried in the fine print was a clause that would strip dozens of black families from their homes, clearing land for a project that promised wealth for the few and devastation for the many. Maya knew the neighborhood. She had grown up just blocks away, seen the corner stores, the playgrounds, the churches that held the community together. And now, with a stroke of a pen, it could all be erased. Her hands trembled as she carried a tray past the table, listening as the billionaire chuckled about streamlining and efficiency. To him, it was business. To her, it was survival. Every instinct screamed at her to stay silent. After all, who was she to intervene? Just a waitress, just a girl no one in this room would remember once they left. But silence had a cost, too. She thought of her younger brother, still living in that neighborhood. She thought of the families who would have nowhere to go, their voices drowned out by contracts and profits. The weight of their future pressed on her chest until she could hardly breathe. Still, she hesitated. Speaking out meant risking her job, her safety, maybe even her future. She had seen how people like her were treated when they dared to confront power, dismissed, ridiculed, punished. And yet, as the billionaire lifted his pen and prepared to sign, Maya realized there was no one else. If she didn't speak, no one would. The pen hovered. The air seemed to tighten around her. Every second stretched into eternity. Her heart pounded. Her mouth went dry. And then, before fear could silence her, she stepped forward. "Sir!" Her voice cracked, but it carried. Heads turned, eyes locked on her. The laughter stopped. The billionaire froze, clearly annoyed. Staff weren't supposed to interrupt. Not here. Not like this. Maya's pulse hammered in her ears. She wanted to run, to vanish into the background again. But she couldn't. Not now. "Don't sign that," she said, her voice louder this time, steady despite the tremor inside her. A stunned silence followed, the kind that weighs heavy as if the walls themselves were waiting for what came next. And in that silence, Maya realized she had crossed an invisible line, a line that could not be uncrossed. The words left her lips like a spark in dry grass. "Don't sign that." The room erupted. Gasps, murmurs, the sharp scrape of chairs as heads whipped toward her. A waitress had dared to interrupt. A black woman standing against a billionaire in his own domain. The billionaire's eyes narrowed, his pen still hovering above the paper. "What did you just say?" His voice was calm, but beneath it anger rippled like thunder. Maya's throat tightened, but she forced the words out. She spoke of the claws, of the families who would be driven from their homes, of the neighborhoods erased by profit margins. Each word trembled, but each one carried truth. The men at the table scoffed, exchanging dismissive glances. One chuckled cruelly, muttering, "These people don't understand business." Another waved his hand as if shooing away a fly. To them, she was nothing, less than nothing. But Maya didn't back down. She saw the faces of her community in her mind, her brother, her neighbors, her childhood streets. This wasn't just a contract. It was their lives. The billionaire leaned back slowly, his silence more terrifying than any outburst. His gaze swept over her, cold and calculating, as though weighing whether her defiance deserved punishment. The room held its breath. Maya felt the weight of every eye, every unspoken judgment pressing against her. She had crossed the line from invisibility to confrontation, and there was no way back. For a moment she thought they might drag her out, erase her words as easily as ink on paper. But then, with the pen still in his hand, the billionaire paused, hesitating. And in that hesitation, the balance of power shifted. For a long moment, the billionaire said nothing. The pen hovered, the silence stretching like a rope pulled tight. Then, slowly, he set it down. The deal didn't collapse that night, but it didn't go through either. And while the men around him dismissed Maya, brushed her words aside, the damage was done. She had forced hesitation into a room where certainty once ruled. Maya was escorted out, her job on the line, her dignity questioned. But she walked away with something far greater. Proof that a single voice, even one the world tried to silence, could disrupt power. For her, it wasn't about victory in that moment. It was about refusing to be invisible, about showing that the lives of her community mattered, even when billionaires pretended otherwise. The impact wasn't immediate. It rarely is. But whispers began. Others in the room questioning what they had overlooked, families in the neighborhood hearing what almost happened, and people realizing that one act of courage could ripple far beyond four walls. Because Maya's story isn't just hers. It's a reminder of how racism and power collide in boardrooms, contracts, and decisions made without the voices of those most affected. And it's a reminder that silence has a cost. But so does speaking up. The question is, when the moment comes, when injustice unfolds right before us, will we look away? Or will we dare, like Maya, to stand and say, "Don't sign that"?